Hey, what's up, everybody? Just going for a little walk here, and thought I'd do the my Wednesday Q&A here at about right at 2 o'clock Central while I'm walking around. So I am here to answer some questions. I've got some that just like normal I'll start out answering, and if you have a question, a fitness question, or really anything, whatever, just feel free to ask it and I will answer here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to deal with, and I've answered this one. This is one of those that I feel like I answer on repeat, but that's okay because I know there are always new people here, or people who didn't see it the first time or whatever. And that's just about, what you should prioritize in your training, like in your workouts. People will often ask either asking me, or I see the question asked all over the place about cardio. If you're doing a strength training program and prioritizing strength training, which I believe you should be, for a bunch of reasons that I've answered plenty of times before, and will answer plenty more. Where does cardio fit into that? So people will ask, how do they fit it in? When do they do it? And the way I would answer that is just, it depends on your schedule, right? So like if you're somebody who is, you have a really tight schedule, like you've got an hour at the gym 3 or 4 times a week or whatever, and you can go in there and you can do, you've only got that amount of time, your weight training takes up that time, and then you need to leave. Obviously, tacking it on to the end of the workout is not an option, so you're going to need to find a different time to do it if you want to do it. So that'll be off days, that'll be a different time, and you just want to make sure that the type of cardio you select is not going to cut in too much to your training. For instance, your weight training. So for instance, if you've got heavy squats, for instance, the next day, you don't want to go out and just tear up your legs like by doing some crazy difficult biking routine or running routine or whatever the day before, because you're going to have some soreness carry over into that next one. So my first answer is, if you have the time, tack it on to the end of your lifting routine. That way you get it all done at once. And not before, because that saps your energy for the lifts. So you want to prioritize the lifts, unless you're somebody who's unless your primary goal is something like a marathon or a triathlon, or some kind of endurance-based goal. Anything outside of that, I would say you should prioritize strength training, and so that means tacking the cardio on when you can. My first suggestion is at the end of the workout. Second suggestion would be to find a different time to do it that does not hinder your other training. Let's see, Annalise says, what do you feel is the most beneficial type of cardio? Well, good question. Thanks for chiming in. I think high intensity interval training is the best. And for anybody, just for general fitness, like if you're trying to lose body fat, if you're trying to just increase your cardiovascular health, things like that, I'm all about efficiency, so I like doing it. I like burning the most calories in the shortest amount of time. And the studies have shown that you can do 15 minutes of like high intensity interval training, like Tabata type training, which basically like this high intensity interval training just means, let's say I'm out here jogging, or let's say I'm out here walking right now. I might walk for 30 seconds, and then I might sprint for 30 seconds, and just kind of do that back to back. And what the studies have shown is that when you do that interval training like that, I'm sorry guys if the wind is crazy here, I didn't know it was this windy, but if it's the studies have shown that if you do that, you can actually burn more calories in like 15 minutes of that than like 60 minutes of like a steady state cardio, which is where you're just kind of like on a treadmill or going for a jog or on a bike or whatever, for just going at the same rate, kind of a moderate rate for a longer period of time. So you actually if you're somebody who likes to just plop down in front of the TV and just grind away at cardio, like that's what works for you, then that's what you should do if that's what you're going to be consistent with. But if you'd be consistent with either one, I would recommend the high intensity route. Let's see, you said following that, I'll be doing a Spartan run in March, so that's similar to endurance and running. I've never done something like that. Do you think I should attempt to run and then lift for some of my training? Spartan run. I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, Annalise, but I think the Spartan run is the one where it's like a 5K with obstacles, right? Like I've done one similar to that. It was called a warrior dash. So I would definitely say like if it's what I'm thinking, the way I would answer that is that you should still prioritize the strength training and then make sure you get some cardio in, because even though cardio is there, you're stopping so often for the obstacles that like you're not really having to have like a long drawn out run. You're running for a few minutes, then you're doing the obstacles. That said, you do need the cardio because you're never really stopping, you know what I mean? So I would definitely say do the high intensity interval training. It goes back to what I was saying at first. It depends what your schedule is, but if you are doing like already doing lifting and you have a little time on the end, I would tack that high intensity interval training onto the end of it. And if you don't have time for that, find a different time to do that a few times a week. And if you're doing the high intensity, I'm trying not to get mauled by these dogs out here. If you're doing, that threw me off. If you're doing the high intensity, it's a lot easier to fit that in schedule wise than it is like, oh man, I got to block out an hour to go for like a longer steady state cardio type of workout. So yeah, I hope that answers that. Spartan is obstacles at 5K. Okay, good. That's what I was thinking. Chris says, the Spartan race is an obstacle course. Yeah, I've never, like I said, I haven't done the Spartan race. I did one called the Warrior Dash, which was actually a lot of fun. Like, I did it with a few friends of mine, and we just, we ran it. We did the obstacles. One of my friends like face planted in the mud puddle when we were coming down off like one of the obstacles where you have to like climb up the hill that's like muddy clay, and then he like slid down the other side face first. It was pretty hilarious. Those things were fun. I'd love to do another one sometime soon. No problem. Hope that helps. Let's see. I had another question in mind that somebody had asked that I'm trying to remember what I was going to say about, and just give some time if anybody else be your friend of the mud. Sweet. I can't remember where you live. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, and I know there are some coming up somewhere close to here. I'm in like tight budget mode right now, trying to crush some financial goals, so I'm not spending the money to enter one right now, but maybe next year I'm going to jump in on one of those. Let's see here. All right, I'm trying to remember what else I wanted to answer and see if anybody else wants to chime in with a question. Just kind of give them time. What was it? I had something. So I was gonna mention something about. I've seen some people, and this was an issue for me too. This is mostly a guy issue, but like if you are, you're doing a lot of bench pressing, but you're struggling to see like development in your chest, like people who are like really caring about like trying to build their chest out. What I will tell you is that I used to do a ton of bench press, like flat traditional bench press, and I still do. It's my core lift for a day, but I did not start seeing like really great chest development until I started working incline bench press in there, and even some chest flies. So like when you're doing the incline bench press, it doesn't need to be too sharp of an incline. I mean, you're here flat, you just incline it just a little bit, maybe like 30 degrees, and 45 is kind of steep, but you could probably do 45. I wouldn't go more than that, because once you go more a more extreme angle than that, it really becomes more of a shoulder exercise. I mean, the sharper the incline, the more it moves up. So like if you're on about a 30 to 45 degree incline, it's still in chest, it's kind of upper chest. But if you go higher than that, you're starting to move into the shoulders, and eventually we'll get into a seated overhead press. So that's not what you're looking for, but you want an incline bench press is going to really help with some of that chest muscular development, especially that upper chest, and eventually you'll start actually seeing some separation here. And then the chest flies, which is, I prefer to do them with dumbbells. Some people like the standing cable ones, but basically you're laying on the bench if you're doing the dumbbell version, and you've just got the dumbbells, and you're just coming back and out with both arms. Obviously, I'm just not going to set the phone down right now, but you're just doing this on the bench, and you're bringing them in, and that's when I've been able to see a lot more. You can see a lot more. You just kind of start to see that center chest here start to be a bit more defined. So that's one way. That's one thing that I would suggest for. That's one thing I would suggest for like trying to increase the muscle definition. Okay, that is all that I had in mind to answer. Let's see if anybody else has questions. Let me know. And if you see this later, feel free to if you see this later, feel free to leave a question and I'll just answer it in the comments, although obviously not live because I won't be live anymore. All right, I hope this helped. And as always, I do these every Wednesday. The times can kind of vary. I usually shoot for somewhere in the like 12 to 4 o'clock central time frame. And if I'm out and about during that time, I'll do it like usually after work hours so that people can see it, maybe when they're getting home or whatever, or hear it or something like that. So anyway, yeah, hope this helped. And if anybody has any other questions, just feel free to comment them. Happy Wednesday.